Dr. Alexander, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, we are playing this during our Saturday version of the Awakening World. And please tell us what you are most excited about and what you want to share with our audience tonight.
Well, I can tell you I'm very excited about returning to the new Living Expo. I haven't been there in several years now, COVID, many other features, but there's been a tremendous amount of progress in the work that I do, and that is very pertinent for those who are interested in, my message as delivered in the book Proof of Heaven, the book Living in a Mindful Universe. All of that has expanded tremendously, even in the last 3 or 4 years. This is collaborative work with other scientists, and it really indicates that we are due for a tremendous paradigm shift in our understanding of the nature of reality. The predominant kind of worldview in our modern culture, scientifically, philosophically supported, is one of materialism. And yet the evidence in many, many ways tells us materialism or physicalism is false. And it's really all about the relationship between the mind and the brain. And, we all live in this kind of mental model of something, but we need a deeper understanding of what that model is based on, and what is the supporting reality out there. The good news is this scientific revolution, and I stress how important it is, that it is fundamentally right at the core of modern quantum physics, neuroscience, philosophy of mind, parapsychology, all the evidence for non-local consciousness. And what it does is it takes science to the next level. But the interesting thing about the next level is it fully engages our notion of spirituality and of the concept of soul. And this is something that I will go into in great detail when I'm there at New Living Expo, but a tremendous amount of kind of new information and consolidation that I would say is very refreshing and liberating, and in many ways has taken us much further towards this goal of understanding the nature of reality, leaving behind the simplistic, bleak, and paltry fiction of materialism, which pretends the brain creates consciousness. In fact, it would tell you you don't even have free will, that we're all just chemical reactions, electron fluxes, following the laws of physics, chemistry, biology. So there would be no way to even have free will. But quantum physics opens the door wide to the reality of free will in our emerging reality. Sorry, my lighting just went off. But that's what I'll be going into, including a lot of scientific evidence, spiritual journeys, collaboration with other scientists around the world. And to me, it's very exciting. The evidence leads only in one direction. We'll never be going back down into that bleak and paltry fiction that pretends that we're physical beings that are birth to death, nothing more, that we're biological machines, and that we're not eternal souls that are interconnected through the binding force of love. And this is something that's very apparent from the near-death experience community going back thousands of years, that ultimately the sharing of this one mind is also a process of realizing that we're all here together. We're in this together. And it emphasizes the golden rule, which is something else I'll be discussing, how we really must treat each other as we would like to be treated. And this is kind of fundamentally written into the fabric of the universe. That's all what I'll be going into. And to me, it's very exciting. And I love getting back out to California to this group. I mean, some of our biggest fans for the last decade have been West Coast. And so it's very good to be returning there to actually give a presentation live. I'm very excited about it. And it will also include a meditation, because a huge part of this is not just understanding the scientific relevance of this revolution for each and every one of us and for culture at large, but also an acknowledgement that each and every one of us individually has the power to pursue this body of knowledge very deeply on our own. And for that, I recommend powerful tools for meditation, for going within. Once we realize that our mind is shared with the mind of the universe, we realize that going within is actually going out into the universe at large. And so we will actually share a sacred acoustics meditation that I will offer at the end of my presentation, and then discuss some of the ramifications of binaural beat brainwave entrainment like sacred acoustics, and why it seems to be so powerful at enlivening spiritual journeys and meditation, and allowing us to come to a much deeper understanding of the nature of our higher soul and its relationship with the universe at large.
Wow, I look forward to having that experience. Now, I'll be at the expo. A lot of our audience will be able to be there, but a lot of our audience is in other parts of the country and other parts of the world. So especially for the people who won't be able to be with you in person at the expo, but who are intrigued by what you have to say, I guess I want to ask you, are you optimistic about humanity's ability to shift consciousness fast enough to manage the problems of the world, the problems that we're facing, especially, say, climate change?
Well, I am very optimistic, and that optimism comes from an understanding of the evidence and the scientific community and where it's headed with all this, and where that will ultimately lead humanity. And you're exactly right. This awakening is something that in many ways is long overdue, but certainly seems to be our destiny, given all of our history over the last few centuries. And that's where I gain tremendous optimism, because where I see it, we are all due for a fundamental kind of upshift in our understanding of the nature of reality. This is away from egocentric, kind of narcissistic, and in many ways ignorant approaches to things that are very greedy, like our addiction to fossil fuels, our continued pollution of the world with plastics and with other toxins, threatening the species, basically 1 million species with extinction over the next few decades if we don't take action. And not only that, I think it should be crystal clear to anyone who's paying attention, climate change is absolutely real. I mean, every time the UN International Commission comes out with a new report, it's much worse than the last report. And we realize that our ignorance has led us into this cul-de-sac that is a very deadly place to be indeed. But I believe it's within our power to change this world very fundamentally for the better and to truly take stewardship for the planet. We call ourselves Homo sapiens. Sapiens means wise. Well, I would say there's a lot of wisdom in what I've seen in the world in advanced medicines, communication, tremendous kind of growth in many ways. And yet our culture at large is in deep danger because of a lot of the technological issues like our addiction to fossil fuels and our ongoing pollution that seem to be, out of control. And this is where I think taking the higher good, not focusing on egotistical things like profit for corporations, but focusing on the well-being of all of our citizens will take reign. In fact, it's really time for the people of the world to basically take their power back, away from big corporations, away from autocratic leaders who in many ways are very self-serving and couldn't care less about the rest of us. It's time for the people at large to really go with where this revolution will lead us. And that's where I have tremendous optimism in what I see of the human spirit, especially when I look at our youth, at the way the youth are, taking up arms to combat those who would continue to support, this addiction to fossil fuels and this very deadly dance with carbon dioxide and planetary warming. It's going to lead us into a runaway greenhouse effect that ultimately will just lead to sheer misery and extinction for most of the life on this planet. So it's high time that we became truly wise and in fact started to look at the bigger view, how things are going to be 10 and 20 and 30 years from now, and take appropriate action so that humans and animals and plants won't be suffering under the impact of this very ill-thought action of our kind of technological civilization to date. It is high time we grew up, matured, and took proper stewardship of this planet.
Absolutely. And that's why our show is called The Awakening World, because we all have to wake up. And hopefully we are. I'm going to go to your website because I want to spend a little bit of time just asking you a few questions. First of all, very excited about this new book. Tell us about living in a mindful universe.
Well, thank you for asking. I look at the book Proof of Heaven as a big question mark. It simply says, wow, these things happen, but how in the world can they be? Living in a mindful universe is the true proof of heaven. That's where I start really consolidating the science on this. And one of the best parts of that book is really the contribution from my life partner, Karen Newell, who I met back in 2011. And she is a very wise spiritual mentor. She's also extremely intelligent, very quick to pick up on all the scientific concepts. And she helped in many ways to make that book very accessible, really to everyone. It's understandable by everyone who would express an interest in this. And it really consolidates all the different lines of evidence from a scientific and philosophical perspective that support the reality of one mind, of this kind of God mind that we all share. And that, of course, NDEers have been talking about returning to. But then when you enlarge the discussion and include so many other factors, including, for example, past life memories in children suggestive of reincarnation, which is a huge part of the scientific database out of the University of Virginia Division of Perceptual Studies. This is all stuff that we cover in detail in that book and consolidate all of these arguments to propose this primordial mind that we're all bound together through the forces of love, kindness, compassion. That's what NDEers witness so fully. And once you realize NDEs, near-death experiences, are not hallucinations, but there's tremendous commonality in the themes that they have given us as human beings. And that commonality stretches back thousands of years across all continents, across all belief systems. And it really leads us to a deeper understanding of who we actually are and where we're headed. And that is where our book, Living in a Mindful Universe, which has been highly recommended and endorsed by many of the global thought leaders in this field. For example, Ed Kelly, Bruce Grayson, and Jim Tucker, all of UVA, have supported Living in a Mindful Universe. So has Dean Radin from Institute of Noetic Sciences, Dr. Pim van Lommel, one of the most respected and renowned investigators of the near-death experience, a Dutch cardiologist who's been in this field for many decades. There are many other scientific supporters of that book. And I can just tell you that it is a pathway towards where this world is headed. And it also has a tremendous amount of information in meditation and in helping the individual seeker to come into this knowledge on their own and through their own mechanisms of discovery. Personal experience is the ultimate guide to understanding. Meditation, centering prayer, these are all ways that we can connect with higher soul and basically with the soul of the universe, with that great spirit that so many have encountered in NDEs. I mean, there's one fact about near-death experiences writ large across all cultures and centuries, et cetera, is that 90% of people who've had these experiences come back believing and knowing from personal experience the reality of a loving personal force at the core of the universe. I won't call it God, but you cannot just limit this force by labeling it as God or Allah, Brahman, Vishnu, Jehovah, Yahweh, Great Spirit, because it's real, it's been experienced, but it rises above any particular religious ideology. Really, the more they all support the concepts of unconditional love, kindness, compassion, mercy, acceptance, when necessary, forgiveness, the closer they are to the deep truth of our existence. And this is what we present in Living in a Mindful Universe. And of course, a lot of that will be the material I'll be covering when I'm at the New Living Expo, including a lot of material that's happened even since that book was published in 2017. It remains a very cutting edge scientific expose of this paradigm shift that's going on, which has great implications for all of us, because it truly allows us to manifest the free will of our higher soul and bringing our ideal world into fruition.
You know, everybody, you can learn much more about Dr. Alexander by going to his website, and it's his name, Eben, E-B-E-N, alexander.com. You can pick up the book at any number of ways, Amazon. And also, I want to always encourage people, take a look at this website. He provides a lot of really fascinating articles, videos. Of course, we will all be seeing him at the New Living Expo. And he's got a couple of other things coming up that are online events, spontaneous encounters with deceased loved ones, an online workshop, and then an actual conversation with them at greater length, and that'll be taking place on May 21st. So go to the website and always put in your name and your email address and subscribe so you can hear from Dr. Alexander, because obviously you have a lot to share with us, sir. It's
Well, the
always
other thing,
impressed.
well, thank you. And the other thing I'd like to share about that website is if people get there and they'll see on that welcome page, your 33-day journey into the heart of consciousness. I highly recommend that. That is a workbook right there, your 33-day journey. You click there, leave your first name and an email address, and you're off and running on a 33-day drip email campaign where each day for 33 days, you receive one of the major concepts from the book, Living in a Mindful Universe. And then we discuss it briefly, but then it's followed by a tremendous amount of discourse by people from around the world. More than 10,000 people have taken this course. It's all for free. And it's to help bring people up to speed with this. And many people, I would say, have taken that course and come away saying they were so grateful for those elements that were taught to them via that course and the book Living in a Mindful Universe, because it completely changed their life for the better. Reaffirmed in many cases what they knew about eternity of soul, about their connection with others, with the power of love, that love can be tremendously healing in our lives in every way. So I would encourage people to pursue that. The other thing I would recommend is while the pandemic raged and all of our jobs were canceled, Karen had the brilliant idea of interviewing many of the people that we would have been on stage with, presenting around the world about these concepts. Thought leaders in the scientific world, as well as other experiencers, many people who have something important to say about these concepts. Those interviews are available for free. Go to inner, I-N-N-E-R, sanctumcenter.com, and you can learn a lot more. There's several options there, but one of them is that whole set of free webinars that we did that were interviews with many thought leaders in this field, and other people have been through those interviews and have been very complimentary about how beneficial they were in their own journey. So I highly recommend that to people too. InnerSanctumCenter.com.
Got it. Oh, that's innersanctumcenter.com.
Yes, sorry, not the Inner Sanctum Holdings.
Okay.
I like that rocket.
Yeah, so I'll go back and I'll get that. InnerSanctumCenter.com.
Center.com.
Okay, there we go. Well, thank you very much for being with us today. And thank you for your wisdom. I'm looking forward to meeting you. And here we go. I did find it properly. InnerSanctumCenter.com. Expand your mind and explore your inner world. Beautiful.
Yes. There you go. There's a lot of information there that can help people get up to speed on all of this. So
will Karen be with you at the New Living Expo?
Well, I'm sorry, she will not be there. I wish that were so. She does a beautiful job with these meditations, but we will present a meditation at the end of my session that will be with Karen's recorded guidance.
Okay, great.
And that's the real magic there. I use sacred acoustics every day. I've been doing that for more than a decade. I've found it to be tremendously helpful in my own journey. And of course, Karen and I have presented many a workshop with sacred acoustics tones and helped thousands of people get on board with this revolution through their own personal journeying in meditation with differential frequency brainwave entrainment. So it's a very exciting time. I look forward to getting back out there to the West Coast with friends out there and a beautiful audience. I'm very excited about returning there in mid-April.
Great. Well, I'll look forward to seeing you. I'll come to your workshop, and I'll look forward to seeing you at the expo. And thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and for sharing this journey of the awakening world with our ever-growing audience. Thank you so much, Dr. Alexander.
Well, Scott, thank you very much too. And thank you all for what you do to get this out to the world. You're doing a great service to humanity.
Thank you.